Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to a post-match review from Evermore, the Newcastle United podcast, live exclusive on the Slide Rule Pass YouTube channel. Fantastic day, mate. I was there today with the boys at the game. I've had a few beers, I've had a sofa nap, and now I'm ready to talk about the match, mate, which is a lot later than I normally do. I'm joined to see the stat man. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm glad you enjoyed the day. It was they left it late today, didn't they? But it makes it all worthwhile for you.
Oh, mate, it was absolutely superb. I was there courtesy of the Lynch man. I had Mr. Lynch Senior's ticket, so I do appreciate that. Get well soon, Mr. Lynch Senior. I think he's having a bit of a recovery from an operation, but I really appreciate the fact that James invited me to the game. It was superb. I was in the Milburn stand, a bit subdued from the last time I was there at the Gallagher end, which was just batshit crazy with limbs everywhere, as most Newcastle fans know, and a cardboard cutout of Gail Platt last time I was there. So very, very different atmosphere, mate. But nonetheless, fantastic. Obviously, a victory this time from the last time I was there. But yeah, absolutely superb. But we're going to get stuck right into it in a minute. But just before we do, a little bit of housekeeping. If you listen to us for the first time, thank you so much for tuning in. If you can please click that like and subscribe button, we really appreciate it. It helps the channel grow. We're about 185, 484 subscribers now, Mark. We're hoping to achieve the 200 very soon. And if you guys can help us get there, we'd absolutely love you for it. So please smash that button and help us get there. But let's get stuck into it, mate. So the lineup was no surprise, mate. Obviously, after the Wolves game, there was only one change, really, which was obviously Miggy Almiron coming on for the injured Ryan Fraser. Not a massive surprise for you, Mark, really, that lineup, was it, bud?
Not really. I think obviously Fraser not being available, it was the obvious choice then to play Miggy, and I think he went on to prove his worth in the side today. I don't think you would change anything else on that side. And yeah, as expected.
Absolutely. To be fair to Miggy, though, I mean, he played really well when he came on against Wolves. I think we said that on Wednesdays evermore. He gets a bit of stick, does Miggy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think he does lack a lot of quality. Certainly with final ball in his final decision-making, but he works hard, he grafts his arse off, and I think today he did that. He did a lot of graft. You know, he was busy. Obviously, he made Leicester think, in terms of going the other way. He tracked back, he put his foot in. But yeah, it was a decent performance from Miggy, I thought, today, mate. But I mean, there was one man that stole the show, really, which is 2 games in a row, I think, mate, man of the match. And it's that time, mate. It's time to talk about Bruno. I mean, when you have a player of that quality, I said it. I was sitting in the crowd watching. I've said it before when I've been sitting at home watching, mate. I mean, we have got a special player at our hands here with this lad, mate.
Yeah. I think the commentators said today that they didn't feel that it was his best game for Newcastle. I tend to agree with that, but what he did was he was always in the right place at the right time, and especially with both goals. He went quiet, I think, during the second half. I think when Leicester got a little bit of control and the game was just, I mean, it's another one where it wasn't the best game of football.
No, scrappy.
Anybody would agree that it was sloppy, it was scrappy. Nobody really wanted to take control of it. But what Bruno does, he does well. He does simple and he does it well. He has that extra little bit of quality that nobody else on the field really has. I think Willock's a little bit of quality at the end created the goal. I forgot my words for a second there. Willock's a little bit of quality at the end for the goal, aided by a little bit of a deflection. But Bruno, again, head and shoulders above anybody else on that field, and it is becoming a theme now, and he's very, very much becoming the star at St James's Park, and what a bargain.
Bloody hell, mate. It's interesting because I was having a good chat with a couple of guys, half-time and full-time over a few beverages. And I did say that with Bruno, you get those kind of players where I think we've had it over the years with, likes of Rob Lee, Cabaye, even Gary Speed, God rest his soul to a bit, where there's players that just go, do you know what? This game's here for the taking, and I'm going to get a hold of it, and I'm going to make us win. I'm going to do something with it. And Bruno has that about him. He's just got that. You say that quality. It was a scrappy game. I think by and large, mate, it was a scrappy game. I mean, we were saying, me and James were saying in the crowd that if they had Vardy or Iniacho fit and firing, that might have been a defeat for us today, because they lacked that punch, I think, up front, did Leicester. You know, the huff and the puff, but they couldn't blow the door down. I mean, obviously, you know, Lookman gets the goal. I mean, you know, we'll get into that in a second. Dubravka, could he do better? I personally think he could have done. But when you have a player like that who can just stand up, puff his chest out and say to his teammates, you know what, give it to me and I'll sort this out. I'll win this game for us. I mean, the winning goal, as you rightly say, I mean, Willock's, you know, turn and kind of quality was absolutely brilliant. You know, that we were screaming for him to come off the bench, and when he did come off the bench and he did that, you know, that's exactly what Joe Willock can do. Yes, aided with a little deflection, but if you watch Bruno's run from deep, I mean, we said this on last week's Evermore. I think when we signed him, we thought he was a defensive midfielder. But that run from deep, that ability, that nous just to follow the play and to get in the box with that header. And it was a great header as well, mate, to be fair, mate. Top corner. You're not going to save that, are you? No matter who you are.
No, not at all. No, absolutely not. His awareness of it's that situational awareness, isn't it, on a football pitch, and he knows what's going on before it happens. He's just, it is the level above everybody else, and that's exactly what Newcastle got. You're right. I think people had earmarked him as that defensive midfielder role, and he is so much more. I think has he scored more goals, or he's equalled the number of goals that he scored for Lyon now?
His Lyon goals, like in the 3 or 4 years he was there, he only scored 3 goals. He scored the 3 goals for us.
He's done it in 11 goals. So, and that was, some people had said it, you know, when he signed it, he has to add goals to his game. Well, he's done it. You know, he's got 3 now. The first one today, I'm still confused over what Kasper Schmeichel is appealing for.
You hate Kasper Schmeichel as well. Or he pisses
Do you know
right
the
off.
stupid thing is, I don't. He boiled my piss when he played against Villa.
His broken
thumb with his broken thumb from Ramsey, but today it was he never had control of the ball. It was sitting under his legs. Bruno kicked it off him and then kicked it through him into the goal. And he's sitting on the deck appealing for something you don't know. You're just appealing that you're shit today.
Yeah.
But genuinely,
every right to go for the ball. He's every right to go completely. Schmeichel hasn't got a hand on the ball. The ball's loose. He's trying to sit on the ball. Bruno's got every single right to go for that chance in my mind. We were watching the TV, and I was saying to James, if this gets ruled out, I'll be absolutely fucking raging. I thought there's no way this should get ruled out.
When they started to replay over and over again, was it Dan Burns' header just before, as he was leaning over one of the players, and when it replayed that 2 or 3 times, you thought, oh, are they going to look? It's going to be this thing. They're going to try and find any reason to disallow this, but there was just nothing. It was a perfectly good goal. It sort of came out of nothing, didn't it? Newcastle never really looked like threatening too much, although they had the majority of the shots at that point. It never really looked like they had that cutting edge. And once they got into it, it was then, well, we're comfortable now. There was never really any threat of losing the game, because Leicester just didn't really do an awful lot. I mean, they had lots of possession. What is it? 69% possession away from home is massive, but they did nothing with it. They had 2 shots on target, and that in itself just tells you what they were like today. They weren't pretty, they weren't effective, they had nothing going for them. The likes of Perez were just anonymous.
Yeah, they were. I think they missed that focal point. They missed Vardy, they missed Iniacho. I mean, in many ways, you're right what you're saying. You know, us in the first half, I mean, it was a scrappy game. You know, we arguably had, you know, the better share of the ball. If we'd had a Callum Wilson, you know, and especially with Bruno, we were saying that. I mean, and I can't wait to see Wilson and that team with Bruno there, because he's 5 steps ahead of every other player. And with Wilson's movement, you'd be looking at Wilson every time he gets the ball. Even before he gets the ball, he'd be thinking, right, is Callum going to pull off that shoulder? I'll slip it through. And it's so exciting, the prospect, thinking what Newcastle could look like with Bruno and Wilson in the same team, because Wood is so static. He's so static. I mean, I know everyone gives him, you know, a bit of praise and he wins headers and that. I watched him today. It's the first time I've seen Chris Wood live as a Newcastle player. and he was so static, Mark. He literally was wood. He was a plank of wood, you know. And I watched him. I just thought, like, what are you doing? His touch was shit. His movement was crap. And I just thought, like, and I'm not gonna be negative because it's a great win, you know. And that win to me makes us 100% safe. I'll say it on Evermore on Wednesday as well. But we are 100% safe now. I can't see us going down at all. But he's so stacked, man.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on that safety thing. I mean, when you consider that you're now 3 points off ninth, I think you can put to bed the whole relegation.
I think that's safe to say. Mate. But you know me, I was pragmatic. I wanted one more win at least, just to be a bit more confident. But I think, you know, the fact that wins came now, there's no way we're getting sucked in that now. We're light years away from going down. We can be a Premier League team next season. We can plan for that. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about transfer talk, you know, on Wednesday's show with the lads. But yeah, I mean, when you look at that team, you know, Chris Wood was brought in to score goals in the absence of Callum Wilson. He's bagged a couple, but he's not a good striker in that team. He really isn't. I mean, I felt a bit sorry for Maxi at times. I mean, he's so frustrating, and he frustrated again today. But there's times when Maxi gets the ball, certainly in the first half, he was right on the byline in front of me, and I was watching him, closest I've ever seen him. And I watched him, and he's looking up, and there's nobody moving. And I just thought, I kind of feel from it.
Well, there was a run. Was it in the second half where he skipped through about 3 or 4 players and went on a run towards the right-hand side of the box and tried to play a through ball through, and Chris Wood just wasn't at the races. He hadn't anticipated it, and it's not.
His brain is not quick enough, Mark. His brain isn't quick enough. No.
It's not his game, and I think as James said during the week, you know, if he's come in, yes, it is a sizable amount of money, but it was taking a player away from a relegation rival, and it was a need. It was somebody to play in that role. If he gets 3 or 4 goals before the end of the season, 2 he's already got, he's earned his money. Do you know what I mean? If he's part of the reason why you stay up, and he's been part of this team that's gone on this brilliant run, then the 25 million was worth it because he's not kept you up single-handedly, but he's been part of the reason why you've stayed up. And for all his sort of negative parts, he is part of that team. Yes, his movement isn't great. He does work hard. He does lead the line, but he's not a Callum Wilson, and that's. I think we have to stop comparing the two because you can't. They are chalk and cheese. They're not.
Totally.
But it's easy to do because of the fact that Wilson is such a good centre forward, and especially for Newcastle, he does do so well. It's so easy to look at the two and go, well, we want that sort of player in there, but he's never going to do it. If you give him the right service, he'll be a threat, and we've seen that. But he's not getting enough of that type of service because it's just not the way, really, that Newcastle are playing.
In games like that, though, I think when you've got the ball and you can see the opposition isn't really at the races. I mean, Leicester are a great side. I said that, you know, pre-match. I think we said that on Evermore on Wednesday as well. Leicester are a really good team, good manager, good team, good squad. You know, they had a massive game on Thursday. You know, came in, you know, they rested a couple of key players. Obviously, Maddison was on the bench, but it didn't look up for it for. They were here for a draw, you know, and I thought, you know what, we've got a chance to win this, you know, right from the kickoff. I thought that. And then when you look at and not having a Wilson that can make those runs, you do draw those comparisons between Wood and Wilson, maybe unfairly, as you rightly say, Mark. But, you know, when you're looking at the space you've got behind, you know, the fact that the opposition doesn't fancy it, you think, you know, if you had a Wilson there, you would be 2 or 3 up by half time. Do you know what I mean? Because he would have found that space. He would put that ball away. You know, and it is a bit unfair to Chris, but listen, we won the game obviously, so there's nothing to be too upset about. But just going back to the Leicester goal, mate, just to get a bit of perspective from a keeper as well as you were, is Dubravka at fault there, mate, or is he unsighted? What was your opinion? Because in the ground, to me, it looked like you should have saved that.
It's tough to. I'm Dubravka's biggest critic at times, and you do look at it at times and you just think, especially when, you know, I flicked over and I'm watching some of the saves and things that Nick Pope is making, but Burnley going down, there is one play you really have to go after.
I would go after him straight away.
it is hard. Is it too harsh to go after Dubravka again for something like that? Maybe. I think there are times. I mean, I think it was one of the journalists today, and it was right. Actually, his starting position for a lot of things is completely off. Certainly, when you look, and I've gone away from the goal, but you look when he cleaned out Dan Burn, his starting position for that was all wrong. He's lucky that Dan Burn got up again. So
I think Dubravka came off worse. I think.
Well, yeah, and he played it. He's played his part later on when he got tapped on the arm, and he he went down. Almost complained that he'd been completely taken out when Leicester were trying to get back in the game. But I think I say I'm not gonna go after him. It's a little bit too harsh on him. I do think he is the one of the key areas that you need to improve in the summer.
And they must see that, mate. They must see that.
Yeah,
Howe
absolutely.
must see that. He's too smart of a manager to not see that. I mean, Dubravka's a good shot stopper, but as you rightly say, mate, that's bread and butter. That's like saying a postman's good delivering the post. To quote Roy Keane, being a shot stopper is a goalkeeper's job, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it does my head as a goalkeeper when you talk and you think, oh, he's a great shot stopper. Yeah, but you should be. When you're playing goal, you should be stopping the shots. I think the one thing for the goal that really annoyed me is even as a neutral looking at going, just how much space do you want to give Adam a look on the edge of the box? There was no one within 10 yards of him when that ball was played in from the corner. It's a great flick from Perez to find him, and he's just got all the time in the world just to line it up and hit it. I think that rather than Dubravka, because I think, yes, it does go through a crowd of players, so I'm not going to be harsh on him. Maybe he should do a little bit better. But the defence, the midfield should do a hell of a lot better in picking up the players around them, because that was waiting to happen at that point. If you give somebody that much space, they're gonna take advantage of it.
Absolutely. We are live on YouTube, guys. Please jump in the comments as Michael did before. Yes, Black on my army, Michael. Absolutely, mate. Great comment, pal. What a great win. And I'm buzzing from it as well, mate. Absolutely superb. But you're absolutely right, mate. I mean, it was a great victory. And I still, for me, it was a scrappy game. It was a bitty game. It looked like a draw all day long for me until that minute of quality, just with that one quality player who just grabbed it by the balls and said, right, fuck it, we're going to go for it. I mean, obviously, Willett coming on was a huge game changer for me. We were screaming for Willett to come on. Maxi was frustrating. I think a lot of times I did feel a bit sorry for him again. When he gets that ball and he beats those 5 players, as you rightly say, nobody's moving. It's so static. So I do feel it. I think I have more of a sympathy for him from watching it in the ground, possibly, than I do it on TV, because on TV you only really see maximum. You don't see the other players not moving until the plays fizzled out. So I kind of understand the difference, between the two vision points of one on the ground, one on the TV. But there is times when he gets it and you think you're never going to beat those guys. I know he backs himself. You think, just pop a 1-2 off and make a run or something. He doesn't do that. I mean, he's got 2 really creative midfielders in front of him, and Shelvey and Bruno, that can take the ball and find him with a pass. But he doesn't seem to do that. His brain doesn't engage that way, does it? He just gets it and runs like Forrest Gump and tries to skin 8 players, where you think, hit it off and make a run. That's the bit that frustrates me the most about Maxi, mate.
It's about choices in the game, isn't it? It's that I said it before. It's that game awareness, that situational awareness of what's going on. And there are times when he runs into blind alleys. There was a time earlier on when, I know he's right-footed, but he cuts across 2 defenders in the first half when it was maybe easier to go on his left. I know he's probably going to struggle with a shot at that point, but it would have given him a better opportunity than trying to run between 2 defenders. But there were flashes today of that brilliance. Like I say, that moment in the second half where he sort of skips past 2 or 3 players with ease, and it was like they weren't there. And he has that in his locker, and you don't want to remove that from his game, because it's that little bit of something different that keeps people on their toes and allows space for others. You know, if he's going to take up a couple of players, then that little bit of space that then Willock can drive into is priceless. So he is frustrating, but he's that maverick, isn't he? He's that little bit of, I don't know what's going on with him, so nobody else does either. I don't think he does at times.
I don't think he's got a Scooby-Doo what's happening next, mate. He just goes. He doesn't know if he's going to go left or right. He just thinks, "Fuck it, let's just do it." I'll tell you one player who disappointed me a bit today. I thought, and I know the Lynchman agreed with me, was Joe Linton. I thought Joe Linton was quite poor today. I don't know how you saw it on the TV, but certainly on the ground, he just, the last few games. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw Joe Linton dominate a midfield to the point where he was just absolutely like unplayable. Possibly that Brentford game, I think, was the last time I saw him do that. The last few weeks he's really struggled, I think, to recapture that form. You know, and you got this argument now with Shelvey, Willock, Joe Linton, and Bruno. I mean, Bruno's got to start, hands down, no argument in my opinion. And it's who you're putting around him. But I thought Joe was poor today, mate. What was your take on the big man?
It felt like his touch was off, but then again, it felt like most of the players' first touch was off for the first 45 minutes. It just felt like there was a little bit of, like we said at the very beginning, it was sloppy, giving the ball away a lot, poor choices in passing. It was an odd game for Joe Linton to try and dominate. It wasn't like the Man United game where he was steaming in to try. They were mostly standing off. I think he did okay. He did his battles well. He didn't win as many as you would kind of hope for him. He, as you'd expect for someone of his size, he wins more than half of his aerial duels. He won a third of his ground duels today, which you sometimes expect him to be a little bit higher, certainly. But I think he played the game okay. I don't think he was poor. I don't think he wasn't spectacular at all. But he did enough, and he his passing wasn't bad. Again, it was sitting around 75% pass completion. So he's done okay. He's done enough. I think the one for me today that was a little bit more disappointing than anybody was Shelvey. To be honest with you, I just thought Shelvey looked, again, just sloppy and just
disappeared in the game of it, didn't he? He didn't really stand out. I mean, maybe because Bruno was so good when he had the ball. Shelvey was maybe disappearing at the background a little bit. I don't know if it was that, but yeah, I agree with you, mate. Disappointed with John Joe. Didn't really see him get control of the game much.
But I think that was part of the game, though. And again, not want to be too harsh, and I'm not going to be negative on them at all. But when you only have 31% of possession, it's difficult for John Joe Shelvey to affect the game. But I think he has to demand it more. I think he has to give me the ball so I can control this game, rather than let it flow by. And there were times as well where you watched some of his tracking runs and he just stops. There was one in particular, I think in the first half, where there were 4 or 5 Newcastle players herring backwards, and he just slowed down. And he would just, there wasn't a sense of he was holding a gap, or he was he's watching for players coming in. There were players for him to track, and he just sort of stopped himself, and it just felt like it was, oh, it's okay, the other guys will sort this out. And it's almost back to Shelvey pre-Howe, and that's again that was one moment in the game. So again, I'm probably being overly harsh at that point, but I felt he had as a poorer game as I've seen from him in a little while. But like I say, when you've only got 30% of the ball, it's difficult for him to do anything much. He's not gonna. There's nobody for him to, he's not hitting those Hollywood passes anymore because he hasn't got the outlets for them. But he needs to be able to influence the game a little bit better than he did today.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, as you rightly say, I mean, I think because it's such a competitive area now in that squad, it's probably the most competitive area we have, in terms of the players available. Shelvey's got to be playing at least a 7 or 8 out of 10 every week to keep his place, because his place is so under threat with the other guys around him and what they're capable of doing. Willock is great. We saw that with a goal. Willock's got that in his locker. He can get a goal himself. Obviously, Joe Linton's box to box, and Bruno's just absolutely magnificent at the moment. He can do everything. So, Shelby has to be a 7 or 8 out of 10, in my opinion, to keep his place. And he was probably about a 5 or a 6 today. So he runs the risk of being dropped against Palace, in my opinion.
I think it comes down to possession. If you can control the possession a little bit better, he's perfect for it. But it's being able to wrestle that ball back. I think the ones that come in for a lot of credit today are fullbacks.
I was just going to get onto that. Mate.
I don't know what you've done to Emil Kraft. What Eddie Howe has done, he's done a job. He's done the Joe Linton job on Emil Kraft because he's turned him into a fullback.
Incredible.
I'm tempted to start calling him the Swedish Cafu at this point, but
we made a joke, didn't we? I think we said with Joe Linton, lightning isn't going to strike twice. Emil Kraft is not going to become Cafu, but the last few games he's become a really, really solid Premier League right back, and I'm his biggest critic because I thought he was absolute horseshit. But his positioning, is reading the game, his tackling, his going forward. He's just been superb, mate. Really, isn't he?
There were touches today that I was going, who? It took me a while to work out who it was. Who's that guy? And we're like,
it's Trippier.
That's Emil Kraft. But again, he was effective. Target on the other side. I mean, huge credit to Target for the role he plays in the build up to the goal, because he wins the ball back on the byline and then plays the ball up the left for
the composure as well, the calmness of Matty Target to win that back and start that attack as well.
There was no thought of there are some defenders that will just get to that. They're in the last minute. They're just going to thrash it forward.
Yeah,
the whistle's going to go in about 30-40 seconds time. Let's just clear the lines and regroup. He took his time and played that ball perfectly down the left-hand side, and Willock did the rest. But yeah, so, I mean, Kraft was, again, I mean, he must have been heading on a 7.5, 8 out of 10 as a performance today, because I thought he was very, very good. He defended very well. He was good going forward. He didn't particularly create any chances or anything like that, but he won most of his duels. He won 80% of his duels today. So that's what you want in that regard. So he's been another one that's just been a little bit of a revelation since Howe's come in, and obviously Trippier getting injured. But you wonder, actually thinking about it on the fly, how much influence has Trippier had on him? How much is he working with him behind the scenes to because that's what you would expect. Your senior pro to be working with somebody to go, look, these are the areas that you need to be in. This is what to focus on, where to be on the pitch. This is who's playing against you. Those are all the things that the manager and the coach and staff. But Trippier, as a proper senior pro, England international, he's played in the Champions League, all of those things. He can be there while he's injured, teaching others to play in a way that will benefit the team.
Yeah, well, Kraft said that Trippier's been great, even though he's injured. He's been around the guys. He's been obviously at the games. He's talking to you, training, and Trippier's already said he wants to be a coach. So it strikes me as the kind of guy that, I mean, he knows when he's fit. He's walking straight back on that side, reading Emil Kraft back on the bench, and Emil Kraft probably knows that as well. But while Trippier's injured, I mean, it shows you the measure of the man. He's probably having a chat with Kraft, and he's saying, "Listen, Emil, you're great at this, but try and drop a bit deeper, or try and just keep your eye on the winger." And you can see that it's not just Eddie Howe, like you say. Trippier clearly has given some kind of tips, because you don't go from being so poor to as good as he's been, without somebody supporting you. I mean, again, I know we're going to talk about this in a bit more detail, mate, hopefully in the special in the coming weeks. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel, guys, and subscribe for that. But I think Eddie Howe has just been unbelievable with his management of these players. These were players that we completely wrote off and just been absolute shit, and they were just never going to make it at Newcastle United. I mean, Joe Linton was the worst number 9 we've ever had, and now he's this midfield powerhouse. Emil Kraft couldn't kick his own arse, and now he's a solid right back. I mean, surely Eddie Howe has to get credit, even from the friends of Steve Bruce and the media, mate, for how good he's been managing these players.
if Eddie Howe isn't manager of the season for this season, then something is severely wrong.
It's a
because
shout.
The job
It's a shout, mate. It is.
done is unbelievable. There is nobody else that has done the job that he has done. You can make an argument for David Moyes if West Ham get fourth.
Maybe Vieira.
Vieira maybe, but Palace, they're still in the same position really in the league that you would expect them to be in. Yes, they've got to a cup semi-final, which they didn't really turn up for today, which was really disappointing.
For their fans as well.
Yeah, just I suppose at least they don't have a massive distance to travel. But you want them to turn up for a game like that, and they just never really got going. I mean, they are playing Chelsea. Let's not forget that, but they're still in the same position you'd expect them to be in the league. They're not top half. They're not a million miles away from it.
So how for you, manager of the season? Do you mean that?
Yes. Oh
wow,
God,
great
yes.
show. What a claim.
Absolutely. Who's done a better job?
But it was a death sentence when he took it on. It was a death sentence. Everyone was just saying they're gone. They're too far gone. They're gone.
When Eddie Howe took over, or when Bruce was sacked, you had 5 points. You hadn't won a game. There was no win at Newcastle in the 40 games. And it brings up the thing. With complete safety now, there is no risk of Newcastle going down. There's your start.
That's incredible, that, mate. That is incredible. No team in Premier League history. Put up again, mate, just so I can read that out. So no team in Premier League history has ever survived after failing to win their opening 14 games except Newcastle United.
Newcastle come in and that run since the Brentford game, and yes, there were hiccups. And you look at that next group of fixtures, and it was a tough run. Arsenal, Man City, Manchester United. Then there were little hiccups. You got the Cambridge game out of the way. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise in the end. The run after that has been phenomenal. The Spurs game, take aside, Spurs have been, well, Spursy. They were absolutely brilliant against you guys, absolutely brilliant against Villa. Shockingly bad
against Brighton. Yeah.
Brighton.
Spurs.
So outside of that, since the turn of the year, Newcastle have been brilliant. And I think what was the stat in midweek that they were third in points?
Third, yes, behind Liverpool and Spurs. We've got the most points, like on 19 points. That's not including a day. The most points since the January transfer window closed. And I mean, that's phenomenal. It really is. I mean, when Howe got the job, and obviously we had the old, Unai Emery thing. Good evening, everybody. We had that, and then it went a little bit, flat. And then Howe came in, everyone kind of went, oh, well, I'm sure he'll do all right, And I was quite excited still because I thought he was a good manager, and I thought he was a good manager at Bournemouth. And everyone kept going, well, got Bournemouth relegated, didn't he? But I think he's absolutely just shut down all those fears and doubts and worries about him as a manager. I know we'll get into this in our special, but credit to the guy for going around the world, spending time with Simeone, spending time in other parts of the world, developing on his weaknesses as a coach. He's come back, and I think he's a better coach now than he was at Bournemouth. I read him.
Yeah. He was always a good coach, and there was a reason why he was getting linked with jobs like Arsenal, things like that. And I just don't.
England as well.
And England as well. And I think he needed to move on anyway. He needed to further his education. He needed the next challenge. And let's not forget, Bournemouth are, in Premier League terms, a tiny club. They're not a powerhouse. They're not the size of, a Burnley, for example, or a Norwich. They haven't got that history with them. They haven't got the size of the ground. They haven't got that experience there. What he did there was phenomenal, and there was an air of inevitability that they got relegated in the end. But he's gone away, and he's learned his lessons. He's taken that time out to go and get educated in other ways, like you say, go and visit other countries again, and go and get some coaching tips, and go and learn some things off some of the better coaches in the world. And it's paying off. Thank God he hasn't come back with Diego Simeone's disciplinary record for his team.
Shit house tactics, shit house football. Oh Jesus! We'll get into that on pitch patter tomorrow, I'm sure, mate. Fucking hell, we've got plenty to say about that.
But no, it's he's just done a wonderful job. And as an outsider looking in, you look and you go, this is the type of result you want from your manager coming in. And I think if I go back and look at where I always said he was the right man for the job now, he might not be the right man for the job in 2 years' time, but he was right for right now, and he's proved it. And if you get that 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years out of him because he's done such a good job, that's a massive bonus. But his remit was come in, keep us up, and he's done it. If he can take the next steps while he's there, brilliant. But his sole focus when he came in was one thing and one thing only, and that was to keep Newcastle in the Premier League. And he's done it, and he's done it with 6-7 games to go, with no sweat. Basically, he's transformed the club, and he's given the fans such a reason to cheer. And you can see it with the atmosphere now and the togetherness of the team. And it's this kind of shot every time now that you get that togetherness from the team. We never got shots like that before. Even when Newcastle had a good result, you never got anything like that before. And this whole club has come together now, and whether it's players, fans, the owners, the coaching staff, it's just all one club now, and that's such a fantastic thing to see, even as a neutral from the outside. It is just such a great thing to see.
Well, to be fair, mate, playing similar to United, the club's united in every single possible element, from the boardroom to the pitch to the stadium. I was watching the guys waving the war flags, and obviously we had Thomas on the show on Wednesday. It's still up there, guys. If you haven't checked out, great show. Thomas was brilliant from War Flags. I saw him in the pub for a pint today as well. He's a great guy. But yeah, I mean, they had a great flag up with their reference to David Kelly, because although we're excited about the future, we're not going to forget the past. We're a very good fan base for that. Even fans, younger fans. We have Dan on the show with us regularly, the Blue Tick Man, and he's a young lad in his 20s, but he knows about the historical parts of Newcastle United. When Keegan came and saved us, and David Kelly scored that goal, when we signed Shearer, right up to now, he knows that, because we're a fan base that will never forget where we come from. I mean, you look at City, people always compare us to City, and they always say we need to go the same journey as City. I know a lot of old school City fans who are still season ticket holders now, and they were there when they were playing Gillingham away, and feed the goat and he will score and all that stuff. And they don't forget those days. But the modern day City fan, that's a million light years away from them. They don't remember any of that. They don't appreciate that. Whereas I think even if Newcastle get to where City are as a fan base, young and old, we'll never forget, where we've been. And that's what I love about the club. And just touching on what you said about the atmosphere, mate, war flags again today, superb.
Brilliant job.
You played it in your intro video there, mate. Which was obviously from PK at the ground. Absolutely amazing. Just the atmosphere. Just even walking into the ground, you can just smell it in the air. Just the anticipation of getting a result. It was never like that under Ashley. And a lot of these journalists just don't get that. They never have, and they never will. This city has hope again. This club has hope, and it's just incredible. It's incredible to be part of, mate. Whether you're watching it on the TV. Or whether you're in the ground, you can just feel it, can't you, Mark? It's incredible.
Yeah, it's just that buzz back, isn't it? You go back to the time of the 90s, the early 2000s, where there was always a buzz around the city, especially coming up to match days. That disappeared for a decade or so. That completely disappeared bar one season, and it's just, you walk around now and everybody's happy. Yes, life might be crap and there's whatever else going on in the world.
Lots of shit going on.
Newcastle now makes people happy again. And,
it does.
And that was gone for so long. And it's the one thing that people cling to. It's the get out. It's the people who have struggled that keep hold of season tickets because it's their club. It's part of their lifeblood, and it's something that they've got from from their parents and their grandparents and whatever else, and they've got their enjoyment back. And even if Newcastle lose, it's not. There's hope, like you said. That one word, it's hope. It's hope for the future. It's not. We're going to be in another relegation fight, and then so long as we stay up, we can then be in another one the following year. And so long as we stay up, we might get a couple of places up the league. Now we can see the path. We can see what's going on. We can see the changes that are being made, and even the players that were there before. How we can see the progress that they've made, and it's just, I hope it's such an enjoyable place to be, except obviously for the fact that my team is now below you in the league. That's not so enjoyable.
So. Yeah, we're not focused on that, mate. But no, you're right. I mean, I was getting the bus on the way up to the game, and obviously Newcastle fans were getting on every stop. And there was a beautiful moment they got on. I think it was around about Wallsend where they got on. There was a granddad
at Wallsend.
Well, yeah, you don't say that very often there, but there was a granddad, a dad, and his two kids, and it was just that generational moment of that you just said there. It's the torch being passed down, from generation to generation, and it's fantastic. I mean, Newcastle United's a religion, and St James's Park is their church. It's just a beautiful place to be when it's positive, bouncing. And this is the reason why, the last 14 years under the previous regime was just so rancid, so toxic, that it took this beautiful thing and it just sucked the life out of it. It made this horrible grey blob of nothingness, of mediocrity, and then just people just don't get that. People outside of this region don't get that. You're a Villa fan, but you've grown up in this region. You get that. You understand what it is to the city, to the fans, when that club has hope, has ambition, has something to go for. Yeah, we're not going to win the league, we're not going to win the FA Cup, but if we just have a go and give those fans those moments that they love so much and that they can tell their kids about and their grandkids about, that's what you want, isn't it, mate? As a supporter.
This is what the one thing we always said when the media muppets were all like, Newcastle just want to be back in the Champions League. They think they're going to be fighting, and we covered this God knows how many times on the podcast or whatever. But like most clubs, you want a team that's just willing to go out and try. Just go out and compete. Just give it a go. Like you said, you've said, well, we're not going to win the FA Cup, but at least now you know that they'll go and give it a try. It's not just, it's third round of the FA Cup. We know we're going to get beaten. Yes, that happened this season, but going forward that there's going to be ambition to go for the trophies, to go further in the League Cup, the FA Cup, to try and push up the league rather than just, we'll maintain the status quo because it fills me bank balance. It covers the costs and I get a little bit of money out of it each year from actually, I'm not going to spend any money because I don't really see the point in, I've got my cash cow, that's it. Now it's a case of, what can we do? And that's it. It's ambition now, and the club has it again, and it's just, we were there. We under Lerner at the end, under Tony Shaw, when the ambition was there, but the finances weren't in there, and it all fell apart. And there was that moment you thought, we're going to really, really, really struggle. And the new owners came in and it gave that boost. Newcastle have had that and some. I mean, Jesus, the sums we're talking about in terms of owners' money, it's astronomical. So we're not competing on that level. But it's the same sort of thing. You come in and you show a level of ambition. You show the willingness to do the right things with the right people, and just make those positive changes. And I say that love for the club, it's wavered at times for people. They've walked away. They've given up season tickets. They've not wanted to go to games. They've not wanted to watch games. There's none of that now. And even when you do have a bad game like the Spurs one, yes, it's bad. It's not a good result. But the yeah, it's a bad result. We'll move on. We'll get a better result next time, and they have, and they've shown that.
Absolutely nuts. It's brilliant to be part of, mate. That's probably a perfect place to end the episode on, mate, really. So if you've tuned in tonight, guys, thank you so much. As we said, if you can please click that like and subscribe button, we really appreciate it. We're trying to grow the channel. We're very close to getting through 200 subscribers, which is brilliant. You know, not massive for huge channels, but for us, it's a big milestone. Mark and I are going to be back with some pitch patter tomorrow. So tune in for that. We've got plenty to talk about, and there's a few contenders for Wank of the Week, Mark, isn't there? So I'm sure we'll be having a battle over as to who we're going to vote in that position. But and Mark and I will also be with the lads this Wednesday and evermore. Going to be in the Palace game on Wednesday night. We're down a few bodies because they're match goers. So yeah, we'll be back on Wednesday with the lads at evermore as well. So yeah, please stay tuned to the channel. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Let's keep supporting our team with Core United, and we'll catch you again tomorrow night on Pitch Patter. Cheers, guys.
Take care.